1854. Albany, New York. Benjamin Franklin sits across from Iroquois leaders in a meeting that would shape American democracy forever. But this is just one of 10 incredible secrets New York has been hiding from us. Welcome back to Arthur Lee's Adventures. I'm Arthur Lee, and we're on episode 7 of our 50-state journey across America's forgotten history. Our explorer community keeps growing, and honestly, New York might be the wildest state yet. I've uncovered 10 incredible facts about the Empire State. We'll start with number 10 and work our way up to the most mind-blowing revelation at number 1. If you're new here, welcome to the adventure. That subscribe button helps more than you know. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. Fact number 10. Wall Street's literal wall lasted 40 years. Here's something they don't tell you in finance class. Wall Street wasn't named after financial markets. It was named after an actual wall. In 1653, Dutch colonists built a 12-foot-high wooden barrier that stretched 2,340 feet from the East River to the Hudson River, right along what we now call Wall Street. Director General Peter Stuyvesant ordered this massive fortification during the First Anglo-Dutch War. The wall had gates at Broadway and Pearl Street. And get this, property owners had to maintain the section next to their land, like a colonial homeowners association, but with muskets. The wall stood for 46 years until British forces tore it down in 1699. So every time you hear about Wall Street today, remember, it started as a literal wall built to keep people out. Fact number 9 takes us from walls to pizza ovens. America's first pizzeria opened with a coal oven. November 1st, 1905. Gennaro Lombardi opens his doors at 53½ Spring Street in Manhattan's Little Italy. This wasn't just any restaurant. This was America's very first pizzeria. Lombardi imported a coal-fired brick oven directly from Naples. That oven reached temperatures of 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to cook a pizza in just 2 minutes. He sold whole pies for 5 cents, but here's the genius part. If you couldn't afford a whole pie, you could tell him how much you had, and he'd cut you a slice to match. A nickel for a whole pizza. A penny or two for a slice. That original coal oven kept firing until 1984. Nearly 80 years of perfect pizza. You think that's wild? Check out number 8. Coming in at number 8. The Brooklyn Bridge used experimental steel cables. When the Brooklyn Bridge opened on May 24, 1883, it wasn't just another bridge. It was a massive engineering gamble. This was the first major suspension bridge to use steel cables instead of iron. Chief Engineer Washington Roebling and his father John Augustus pioneered this technology. Each of the 4 main cables contained 5,434 parallel steel wires, manufactured by the Roebling Steel Company in Trenton, New Jersey. Each cable measured 15 3/4 inches in diameter. They could support 12,000 tons each. The bridge cost $15 million and was 50% longer than any suspension bridge ever built. When people walked across for the first time, they were literally walking into the future of engineering. And honestly, that's exactly as revolutionary as it sounds. Now things start getting really interesting. Fact number 7. New York's secret subway platform for presidents. Beneath the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Manhattan lies Track 61, a secret subway platform that most New Yorkers don't even know exists. This wasn't built for tourists. It was built for presidents. Starting in the 1930s, Franklin Roosevelt used this hidden platform to arrive in New York City completely undetected. His private armored train car weighed 285,000 pounds. He could travel directly from Washington to the hotel's basement without ever being seen in public. Roosevelt used a wheelchair due to polio, and this platform gave him total privacy. Harry Truman used it too. The armored train car stayed parked on that track for decades. A presidential getaway car hidden beneath one of Manhattan's most famous hotels. Would you have fallen for this level of secrecy? Let me know in the comments. Ready for number 6? This one still amazes me. The Statue of Liberty was originally brown. When Lady Liberty was dedicated on October 28, 1886, she wasn't green. She was the natural copper color, a beautiful, shiny brown. French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi designed her using copper sheets hammered over an iron framework. But here's what happened next. Over 20 to 30 years, air and moisture caused oxidation. The copper gradually turned that iconic green color we know today. But get this, in 1906, many New Yorkers were horrified by the green patina. They wanted to paint over it and restore the original brown. Scientists had to step in and explain that the green coating actually protected the underlying copper. Thank goodness they listened to science. Can you imagine the Statue of Liberty painted brown today? We're halfway through, and honestly, the next 5 facts are going to blow your mind even more. Fact number 5. New York City's first skyscraper had its own zip code. The Empire State Building, completed in 1931, became so densely populated with businesses that in 1963, it got its own zip code, 10118. This building essentially became a vertical city. Over 20,000 workers and visitors daily, 102 stories, 2.7 million square feet of office space across 85 floors. The postal system had to treat it like a separate neighborhood. The building has its own internal postal system with multiple mail delivery routes throughout the day. Think about that for a second. A single building so massive it needed its own zip code. That's not just architecture. That's city planning going vertical. We're in the top 4 now, and it only gets better. The Great Molasses Disaster's New York connection. You've probably heard of Boston's molasses flood in 1919. 21 people died when a storage tank burst, sending a wave of molasses through the streets. But here's what you probably don't know. The company responsible, Purity Distilling Company, was headquartered right here in New York City at 125 Park Row. When disaster struck on January 15, 1919, company executives Arthur Gell and others immediately fled to their Manhattan headquarters. They were shipping molasses from Boston to New York for industrial alcohol production during Prohibition. From their Park Row offices, they faced over $1 million in lawsuits. A disaster in Boston, but the money trail led straight back to New York. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this corporate connection in the comments. Buckle up for this next one. Fact number 3. The Erie Canal made salt worth more than gold. October 26, 1825. The Erie Canal opens, and suddenly Syracuse becomes the richest city you've never heard of. Syracuse had salt springs discovered way back in 1654, but transportation costs made salt incredibly expensive. $100 per ton to ship salt from Syracuse. Then the canal changed everything. Shipping costs dropped to $10 per ton. Suddenly, Syracuse was producing over 1.2 million bushels of salt annually by 1862. The state government controlled production through the Onondaga Salt Springs Reservation. They were generating over $100,000 annually just from salt revenue by the 1850s. Salt City, they called it. And for good reason. Before refrigeration, salt was literally worth its weight in gold for preserving food. This next fact changed how I see traffic forever. Coming in at number 2, the world's first traffic light was in Syracuse. August 5, 1928. Police officer William Potts installs the world's first 4-way, 3-color traffic light at the intersection of South Salina and East Fayette Streets in Syracuse. Red, amber, and green. Sound familiar? Potts adapted the system from railroad technology while working for the Syracuse Police Department. The problem was coordinating traffic from 4 directions. His solution was brilliant. A manually operated light controlled from a booth in the center of the intersection. It worked so well that Detroit hired Potts away to install their system. Every traffic light you've ever stopped at traces back to this intersection in Syracuse. One police officer's idea that literally changed how the world moves. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Fact number 1. The Iroquois Constitution influenced the U.S. Constitution in Albany. This is the story that made me want to do this episode in the first place. 1754. The Albany Congress meets at Albany's Stadt Huys. Benjamin Franklin and 23 other colonial delegates are there to discuss unity. But they're not just talking among themselves. They're studying the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois Confederacy. The Iroquois had been operating under the Great Law of Peace for centuries. A federal system with concepts that would sound very familiar today. Federalism, impeachment, women's suffrage. The Onondaga leader Kanasatego had told the colonists 10 years earlier to unite like the Six Nations. At Albany, they listened. They studied Iroquois governance structures in detail. When the Founding Fathers later drafted the Constitution, they drew heavily on what they learned in that Albany meeting room. American democracy didn't emerge from a vacuum. It learned from the people who were already here. From Wall Street's literal wall to the Iroquois Constitution's influence on American democracy, New York has proven it's anything but ordinary. This is the kind of history they should teach in schools. These stories shaped not just New York, but our entire nation. Which of these facts surprised you the most? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious which one hit you the hardest. If you want to discover more hidden stories like these, subscribe and hit that bell. I release new adventures every week exploring America's forgotten history. Next time, we're heading to a state with an even wilder history. Trust me, fact number 3 on that list had me researching for hours. Thanks for joining me on another adventure. Until next time, keep exploring.